Thinking Krusha, where Krusha and I will be giving you a little bit of a shorter version of Mixed Up Sports Live, but every Tuesday and Thursday from now on. And so, with this inaugural show, we'll start off with something that we haven't really touched on in Mixed Up Sports Live, and that is the transfer news out of the world of soccer. With this being the transfer window open, a lot of moves have gone through. And one of Krusha, you put out an article recently on the site talking about Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his options as far as where to go during the summer, and that where he is going has been confirmed. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I had originally, when I was writing the article, one of the main prospects or one of the biggest places that he's going to end up being chosen to go to was Man United or even some MLS clubs. And as a Man United fan, that was the biggest news to hear was, wow, well, there's a possibility of possibly having the Swedish international come play for us. But it was confirmed today. Resources stated that he's come out and agreed to terms with Manchester United, and he will be officially signing with them after the Euros because his Swedish international coach is refusing to let him leave during the Euros, which I completely understand. International before club, I think. But overall, I feel like this is great. I mean, last season, Man United wasn't able to get a lot of goals in the back of the net. We were great defensively, minus some problems at right back. But other than that, I feel that this is a great signing because he's obviously going to have that ability to bring to the table all these great scoring opportunities, give some wisdom to some of these younger guys who are just now starting to step up, like, Jeremy Rashford, not Rashford, sorry. You can even say Martial is still pretty young. He could get the extra stuff. And then just having that partnership with the other veteran, Wayne Rooney, I feel like this is a great signing for Man United. I mean, it's only to a one-year deal, but I feel that's fine if we feel that he's good enough, or he works in a system, or if he thinks he works in the system. There's always more contracts to be signed in the future. If not, well, it'd be a great season just to have him here for that one. But overall, great signing, and I'm happy that I was able to predict this one and feel like this would be the place to go.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United obviously coming off a season with high hopes that didn't quite meet those hopes, but having a new manager in Jose Mourinho, I mean, he is come in and definitely signing Ibrahimovic. That is a definite splash as far as transfer news. But Zlatan, I mean, he's obviously one of the world's best strikers, one of the world's best forwards, and for his international team, he pretty much caused that own goal against Ireland in the Euros, and so he definitely brings a certain presence not only on the pitch but just in the locker room of what type of caliber of a player he is. He's definitely one of the best that you've ever seen. Pretty much. I mean, he's bounced around from a few clubs, but every time he's always been very, very key in that team.
Well, you mentioned, as far as him being there, we don't know the exact amount yet. Like we said, the contract's going to be signed after the Euros, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty costly contract for Man United just because of the caliber this guy is. I believe he was paid over 30 mil. The transfer fee for him for PSG was over 30 million. Which is a lot for a player. Necessarily, that's a lot to put on a body. But he's still definitely a great caliber of a player to have on your team as your squad. Whether you play him every game or if you have him every other game, I mean, this guy brings enough to that. If it's not game day on the pitch, it's on the practice field, or it's like I mentioned earlier, the overall veteran status that he's going to bring. I mean, he's a 34-year-old striker, so he's definitely getting up there in age. But he's definitely going to bring a lot to the table. He's going to definitely lead this team, like I said, who's been struggling, who fell out of Champions League qualifying, coming in fifth place right behind Man City off a goal difference, which hopefully would bring him in next time if they're ever in that problem that they'll be the ones on top.
Yeah, and Man United, not only have they signed Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but they also landed the young center back Eric Bailly from Villarreal, who, from rumors, they wanted to get Sergio Ramos, but they settled for the 22-year-old Eric Bailly. So I mean, they had some problems in the defense last season. Obviously, they have one of the best goalkeepers in David De Gea, but their defense just wasn't there. They signed Darmian last year, but he didn't really pan out for them. It wasn't the caliber of player they would want. So, I mean, this Man United, their transfer window is just beginning. I mean, there's reports that they're going after Marco Verratti from PSG. I mean, they are very active in this transfer window. Plenty of names being thrown around that Jose Mourinho wants to get, especially with rumors that he doesn't want Juan Mata anymore. So definitely going to be an influx of cash from that. It'll be a very interesting time to watch for Man United.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive problems. Like Blint for Man United, he wasn't good this year. Mentioned Darmian. I mean, Smalling was all right this year. I mean, he was our best defensive guy next to Rojo, but you had Jones, who wasn't up to par this year. So just having this new signing as a 22-year-old center back, I mean, he still has a lot of room to grow, like I mentioned. That's pretty much the key in soccer. Is if you're young and willing to learn, you're going to be good on most squads by having that ability to get better, play the game more, and just grow as a team. But basically, that's not the only news to cover, essentially, in defensive standpoints. And defensively, I'm going to go over to the Bundesliga right now. FC Bayern Munich did an unclosed deal sending Hummels, the center back from Borussia Dortmund, to Bayern. That's one of the world best German center backs in the world, going to one of the, if not the top club in the world. But Bayern obviously coming off their fourth title win in the last 4 years. So, I mean, it's definitely they're only improving their squad from there. But that's not it either. We have reports also coming out that there's also a chance that Aubameyang could be going to Manchester City, Aubameyang being the striker from Borussia Dortmund as well. So just a bunch of different things to outlook on. Definitely a lot of transfer opportunities going up for both sides of the world as far as moving key players or maybe just making young pickups to just give your team the young legs that you need.
Yeah, I mean, in the Bundesliga, it's being very active as not only did Bayern Munich get Mats Hummels, but they got the young Portuguese man Renato Sanchez from Benfica in the Portuguese league. And Borussia Dortmund, they are just getting pretty much rated as losing Mats Hummels. You mentioned Aubameyang could be out. Ike Gundogan is headed to Man City as well. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how they do based on the losses they've had. I mean, Mats Hummels, I feel like is him or Aubameyang would probably be the biggest ones out of their losses as far as either not being able to defend correctly or Aubameyang, who is just on fire this season in the Bundesliga, scoring goals left and right. So I mean, if Man City can land Aubameyang, that is definitely a huge signing. Adds to have Aubameyang and Aguero on the same team. That's a deadly combo. So much pace between those two, and if they land those two, Man City, you have got to watch out for them next year. Even with how great of a club they already are.
We mentioned the Borussia Dortmund just losing all their players. I mean, especially the FC Bayern, it seems like they're constantly losing all their top players. I can already name three big stars off the top of my head that have been not traded, but basically transfers into huge stars at Bayern. First one, Robert Lewandowski, formerly the striker of Borussia Dortmund. Mario Götze, the midfielder for Borussia Dortmund. Definitely now with Hummels like this is obviously it almost seems like Borussia Dortmund's the farm for Bayern. I mean, because all the good Borussia Dortmund players, they want to go to a team that's going to win the league. It seems like, and with everyone leaving and going to Bayern, I mean, Bayern's only getting better and better, and Borussia Dortmund's always going to be that second place team, which I feel for. And they still got star players on that Dortmund team. Marco Reus, who, if you know, he's my favorite player of all time. I love watching him play. And just seeing all these, these players around him get better, and then leaving him, and he's already stated he's never going to Bayern, thank the Lord. But there's another opportunity that might be lost. Leicester City, the Barclays Premier League winners last season, could be losing Jamie Vardy. Rumors have been come out that he could be possibly be joining Arsenal, the club that I believe finished third this year. Just that if they could add another strike force, you already Giroud up there, Danny Welbeck, Alexis Sanchez, Walcott, Chamberlain, all those up front guys who have been playing pretty well, and you got Ozil who's just playing amazing. I mean, if they can add another weapon to this Arsenal squad, I mean, there's no reason why they can't finish first. But it seems like each and every year they're never at that one spot. They're either going down or up. They're always fluctuating, but never at the top point of the league. But if Jamie Vardy ends up being in Arsenal, that could easily swing the tables in Arsenal's favor.
Yeah, I mean when Leicester City when they won the Premier League, even throughout the season, there was always these rumors of Vardy and Mahrez where they would go after the season as obviously playing as some of the best players in the BPL, if not the world. I mean, Vardy, I believe he was either first or second in goals scored. I think he was second. Harry Kane was first in goals scored in the BPL. Mahrez, a huge part of that of Leicester's success. And so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I don't think there's been any movement as far as Mahrez if he's going to be transferred or working on an extension. I think whether that'll happen. I mean, they if Mahrez and Vardy leave Leicester, that's going to be difficult for Leicester to try and overcome.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those things where you have to watch out for because it's for Leicester them being the underdogs that whole season. We talked about the 5,001 odds. It's definitely not going to help them if they lose the main man who was up there. I want to go over real quick to the Serie A side of things. Juventus are definitely making a bunch of moves this offseason or this transfer window series. They recently, a couple months ago, they picked up Dani Alves from Barcelona, the right back, who's a terrific defender, speedy one, and he even can get up on the wing and make plays. I mean, the guy is ridiculous. And just yesterday, Miralem Pjanic from Roma is now joining Juventus on a $32 million deal. He's definitely one of the better midfielders in the in Serie A at least, and for Roma at least. I mean, that team essentially was built around him and other stars on the team. But this is definitely a big loss for Roma and just another big game for Juventus, who seems to always be one of the top tier teams in the Serie A.
Yeah, I mean that midfield for Juventus now is with the signing of Pjanic. You got Pjanic, Paul Pogba, Claudio Marchisio. I mean, those are some big names as far as in the midfield. I mean, they're just getting better and better. Even though most of their stars are aging up there with the Buffon, Chiellini. But also, we mentioned Pogba. There's always rumors every transfer window of teams bidding for him. Juventus have pretty much they've pretty much said that he's priceless. They're not going to get rid of him. And another player that's in the Premier League that has been rumored about is the Frenchman Dimitri Payet. I mean, he scored that amazing goal for France to lift them over Romania in the opening game for the Euros. The Chelsea they've said that he's their top man on their short list, but West Ham have come out and said that he's priceless. They're not gonna let him go for pretty much any price. Which I mean, with how he played in the Premier League, I can completely understand from West Ham. They have a very very bright future with Dimitri Payet at the head of that.
You're right, and it's only seeing this West Ham team, who we essentially thought was maybe mid-table form, finishing near the top of the table. I mean, like you mentioned, and just Dimitri Payet who stepped up. I mean, last season, I'm sure a lot of us didn't know who he was. I mean, everyone had an idea, but no one expected him to have this, build his way up this way with this team. And for them to come out and say that they are not going to give him away, there's no money that could be ever to buy him with. I completely understand. I mean, they don't have the biggest well-known guys, but they're definitely having the guys in that group that can definitely lead to being one of the top tier teams in the Premiership. With that being said, you got Mark Noble, you have Winston Reed, you have Adrian, you have Inter Valencia. All these guys in this group are definitely getting better and better. You got Victor Moses, who's stepping up. It's definitely going to be a squad that's going to be very tough to beat, especially with Dimitri Payet at the head of the snake, essentially with this team.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham they're definitely improving. Also confirmed that they signed the right winger uh, from Valencia. They signed Sofiane Faguli to bolster that team. It seems as though they're just making one somewhat big signing every transfer window. Payet being the one last year, now Faguli. I mean, they are slowly building up this team to be. They are slowly building this team up to be a very big competitor in the Premier League, finishing seventh in the Premier League this season. They are very, very close to top form. And with that, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.